What's going on, JD's Custom Buggies? Fourth video on this. So last night we left off the spindles. Today we tackled shock mounts. We got the shock mounts done. Upper, lower. Decided to use this cross member. Noticed that there's a couple of things that aren't quite right from the factory, so it's hard to get references. So using this, I can make my own references, and basically the suspension is straight whether the buggy is or not. Noticed a couple people that mentioned how wide the front of the buggy is. Yeah, I've come to the same conclusion after taking an actual tape measure to it and looking at it and checking it out with wheel spacers, and come to the conclusion that I'm gonna end up redoing a set of arms. So I hang these up for another project and should be able to knock that out in the night. The only thing that screws me up is I'm pretty much out of bungs now, so I'm gonna have to order some bungs and probably a couple extra heim joints. Once we got the shock mounts mounted, we went right to the rack. Setting up the rack took about an hour and a half because you got no point of reference. I don't have wheels or hubs on this right now, so that kind of makes it tough. But did a little, I guess, I don't know, mathematics and geometry, figured out where I want the rack. The rack is, usually when I do a buggy, or at least the front end, I try to make sure that the rack and my pivot points on the A-arms are all the same. Because of the way we built this, that wasn't possible. So I used some steel, took two straight lines, and notice the rack is higher. It's kind of closer to the upper pivot point. And that's because that's where, in a straight line, that's where my tie rod is going to end up. So what I'm trying to do is eliminate bump steer, and I don't want this thing steering left and right every time we hit a bump. What next? So once we figured out where this is going to end up as far as, you know, where my steels were, I drilled some holes, used it to hold the heim joints in the rack. I spaced it out 2 inches from the front of the arms, and basically came up with a way to mount it. And added this member here to hold the rack, plus I have another piece that's down at a diagonal, so it should be plenty sturdy, and this will actually sturdy up the front end. At that point, need to make new arms. Got the rack mounted, which I wanted to have done today. Got the shocks mounted, which I wanted to have done today. Now making new arms, I have more reference points than I had before, so it shouldn't be as tough. I know where my steering rack is, I know where my shock mounts are. That's more than I had when I started the arms. So redoing arms should not be that big a problem. Because we got stuck, went to the cage. So I try to utilize as much of the old steel as possible, but a lot of it was bent or too rusty to use. So we have some clean steel, we have some old roll bars, pieces of tubes from the old roll bar steel, and just kind of went with it. Started from the back, worked our way to the front, and that's what it is. One thing is, by doing the cage, I had to move the electrical box, we took it off. It's over here actually. So it's kind of cool because it's plug and play. So pop this off, gotta find a different location, probably closer to where it's in reach of the driver. Other than that, so I have to finish welding the cage and order some heim joints and some bungs, finish the arms, and we're getting there. So hopefully, the goal is to have this done by next weekend. I have other customers coming in, so I need to free up next weekend to get as much done as I can. And that's it. So if you're interested, we're going to post this on Facebook, and you can go to JD's Custom Buggies on Facebook. You can go to, there is a JD's Custom Buggies YouTube channel. Feel free, we have a bunch of MBX races on there. I post them as we do them. So, of course, the season starts in a month. We post the videos of every race as we do them. And if there's anything interesting that we're building, we'll put it on there. All right, have a good night.